And it was in a little patch of grass just down the hill from where I lived. And for anybody passing by, they would look across at the patch of grass and they would say, oh, there's the boys playing football in a little patch of grass. But of course, for us who were playing football, it wasn't a little patch of grass to us in our imaginations. What was it in our imaginations? A football stadium. We were playing in a famous football stadium surrounded by thousands of cheering fans. So from the outside it was just kids running around in the dirt, but for us who were playing it was a fantastic, vivid experience. And we all know that feeling of being playing hard, committing your whole body, but also committing this thing, your head, your imagination. So on one side of the street I was imagining I was a famous footballer, and on the other side, in the library, ever since I'd been small, I knew I wanted to write books. And the more I went into the library and looked around the shelves, I began to dream that one day I'd go into that library, I'd put my hand up to a shelf, and I'd take a book down from the shelf. And what did I dream I'd see on the cover of the books? What did I dream I'd see? Yeah. My name. I dreamed I would see a book with my name on it. So all the time I was going into that library when I was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Often I'd be covered in mud from playing football. And I'd keep on looking at the shelf. I'd say, one day my book will be there. One day my book will be there. And then a couple of years ago I had a fantastic day. Here I was, a grown man, and I was phoned by the library. The library wanted me to go back and work with some kids from the local school. So back I went, across to the library. As a grown man, I looked at the patch of grass where I used to play football, and it was still a place where kids played football. I went into the library. What did I go and look for? Yeah? I went and looked for a book with my name on. And I stood in exactly the same place that I'd stood when I was 9, 10, 11, 12. And I put my hand up to a shelf, and I took a book down from the shelf, and off the cover of the book it said, by David Almond. And inside me there was a 10-year-old boy that went, yes, yes. And it worked. And I think the books that I create now, I began to create them all those years ago, when I was a baby, when I was a growing boy, when I was a boy in the library. Of course, I didn't know what the books were going to be called, I didn't know what they were going to look like, but the fact that I kept imagining my name on there really helped to come into the world. And what I like to think now is when I'm here in Dubai, thousands of miles away from that little library in Felling, that in that library this morning there's a girl or a boy who takes my book down from the shelf, reads my book and says, I would like to do that. And they begin to dream that they'll see their name, not my name, so my name will be wiped away. And the ones who work hard enough, and the ones who dream hard enough, there's no reason why not. It could be that as I'm standing here, that the future writers are sitting in this audience. Who likes writing? Who thinks they write good stories? Who thinks they write bad stories? Oh, it's so easy to say you write bad stories. Who thinks they write good bits of stories? I do. I think the way to approach it is say, well, some of what I write is terrible, but there are some very good bits in everything I write. I think every time you write something, you have to find something that you like and take it out and begin to work on that. That's what I do. I write loads of rubbish. You wouldn't believe the rubbish that I write. But I get rid of the rubbish, and I find the good bits, and I try to turn the good bits into more good bits. When I was a kid going into the library, I used to go into the library and sort of dream of writing books. Look at it. Aren't they lovely? Beautiful. But I used to look at these books and it was terrifying because I thought these books that look so perfect. I used to think about my brain and I thought, my brain doesn't look perfect. My brain doesn't feel perfect. Has anybody here got a perfect brain? There's usually one or two. There are usually one. There's quite a few in it. But I used to look at these things and I thought, the thing about a book is, it looks perfect. And I used to think about my head, and my head is like everybody's head. My head is full of all kinds of stuff. There's a really interesting thing about your head. People say to writers, where do your ideas come from? Where do my ideas come from? Tell me where my ideas come from. Yeah? From here. I used to think writers had very special heads. But we all, in fact, have the same kind of heads because we're all human beings. We carry this thing around on our shoulders. We stroll around the world. It does our thinking for us. It does our looking for us. It does our hearing for us. And we can't even see it unless we look in a mirror. So we kind of take it for granted. But there's a really interesting thing you can do with your head. And that is, put your hands around your head. And then show yourself how big your head is. So you show yourself how big your head is. Yeah? Have a look at how big your head is. It's not very big, is it?
Yeah, man, this is
And then the writer says,
this is like huge, man.
all my ideas come out of my head. But it's tiny. Compared with the size of this room. It's not here. Compared with the size of Dubai, you couldn't see it. Compared with